wabarakatuh. Good morning. We are delighted to welcome you in Sepuluh Nopember Institute of Technologi ISST for the first international conference on management of technology, innovation, and also project MOTIP 2020, and also the sixth international seminar on science and technology ISST 2020. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Terry, and I will be hosting you for today's event. And now, please let me welcome our special guest for today. Welcome to the Honorable Professor Muhammad Azhari as Director of Sepuluh November Institute of Technology. Welcome to the Honorable Dr. Heri Kuswanto as the Director of Postgraduate Directorate. Welcome to the Honorable Mr. Imam Baihaki, PhD, as the Dean of Faculty Creative Design and Digital Business. And also welcome to the Honorable Professor Nyoman Pujawan as the Head of Technology Management Department. Welcome to the Honorable Keynote Speakers, Professor Arpan Kuman and also Professor Daniel Prajogo. And last but not least, also to the Honorable guests and audiences. Further, for the sequence of this morning agenda, we will sing our national anthem and also the hymn of Sepuluh November Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. Thank you very much, and please have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, first now we will invite to the stage the most responsible person for the conduction of this international scale event, to the Honorable Mr. Dinaryana PhD as the General Chair of MOTIP and also ISST. Mr. Dinaryana PhD, the time is yours.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Professor Dr. Muhammad Asari, Rector of ITS Surabaya, Honorable Professor Dr. Daniel Prayogo of Monash University, Australia, Honorable Dr. Haris Kuswanto, Director of Directorate of Postgraduate Program and Academic Development of ITS, Honorable Dr. Imam Baihaki, Dean of Faculty of Design Creative and Digital Business of ITS, Honorable Professor Dr. Inyoman Pujawan, Head of Departemen of Technologi Manajemen of ITS, Honorable guests and participants of MOTIP 2020 and ISST 2020. On behalf of the organizing committee, we are glad and pleased to welcome you, all the participants, to the first International Conference on Management of Technology, Innovation and Project, MOTIP 2020, in conjunction with the 6th International Seminar on Science and Technology, ISST 2020, with the theme Fostering Innovation Project for Business Growth. MOTIP is a semi-annual conference in the area of management, technology, innovation, and project, while ISST is an annual seminar in the area of science and technology. Both conferences accommodate the substantial field, especially for the need of global economic growth. This year, these two events are organized by the Departemen of Technologi Manajemen ITS Surabaya. These events were previously planned to be held offline. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we decided to hold this event as a webinar conference. We are fortunate to have support from the head of Department of Technologi Management, Director of Graduate School and Academic Development, and the support from Director of ITS Surabaya to hold these two conferences in the same time. We would like to extend my gratitude to all the authors who contribute to the submission of the result of their latest research. The committee received 238 paper submissions, and from those submitted papers, 210 papers will be presented in these two conferences. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Technical Program Committee and the reviewers for their support in the reviewing process to keep the quality of the manuscript. The committee received a submission from 5 countries. They are Indonesia, Japan, Madagascar, Malaysia, and the United States. I believe that this event will provide a valuable opportunity for researchers, students, industry specialists, and decision makers to participate in exchanging information, knowledge, insight, and experiences to keep up to date the research, technology development, and innovation. We have 2 keynote speakers, keynote session and 3 parallel sessions with a total of 37 sessions to accommodate all participants to have a fruitful discussion. There are 2 outstanding keynote speakers to whom I would like to thank for their support to MOTIP 2020. They are Professor Daniel Prayogo from Monash University, Australia, and Professor Arpan Kumarkar from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, India. We would like to extend our gratitude to the Center for Scientific Publication of ITS so that we could publish the presented papers to the Tech Journal of Proceeding Series. Additionally, we would like also thank to the Operation of Supply Chain Management, OSCM, an international journal, for the opportunity that selected papers will consider to be published in their journal. Finally, I sincerely hope that you will enjoy this conference and have a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the conduction, Mr. Dinariana, PhD. And with honor, we would like to invite Professor Muhammad Azhari as Director of Sepuluh November Institute of Technologi Surabaya to deliver a few sentences. To Professor Muhammad Azhari, the stage is yours.
Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Honorable General Chair, Pak Dinariana. Morning, Pak. Also, distinguished keynote speech this morning. I think morning in Indonesia, probably a different time with Pak Prof. Daniel Prayogo from Australia. And also speaker, Associate Professor Arfan Kamarkar from IIT, India. Good morning, Indonesian times. Also, the Director of Graduate Office, Pak Heri, the Dean of Kreabis, Faculty of Creative and Business Management, Bapak Imam Bayhaki, also the head of Management Technology Department, and all distinguished participants. Again, on behalf of Institut Technologi Sepuluh Nopember ITS, I would like to greatly honor and pleased to welcome you to attend the first International Conference on Management of Technology, Innovation and Project, or MOTIP, MOTIP 2020, in conjunction with the 6th International Seminar on Science, Technology, ISST 2020. In this time, I would like to express our gratitude to, especially to keynote speech. That is, the first one is Professor Daniel Prayogo, an expert in supply chain management, which will talk about extending innovation resources to supply chain network. And the second speakers, who is Associate Professor Arfan Kamarkar from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT, New Delhi, India, who will present about evolution of data science in the era of digital transformation. So, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I think this conference is very interesting because it talks about innovation, business, and industrial revolution technologies, especially data and digital. At the moment or currently, ITS, we focus within the next 5 years, we focus on innovation and digital transformation. Innovation here, especially during pandemic, during the last 3 months, that our economic, our society, our business desperate. The growth, it could be something minus, but we are in the academic community, Institut Technologi Sepuluh Nopember, we try our best, we try to do something that could help our society to prevent the pandemic COVID-19. What we can do within the last 3 months, we try our best. We develop the innovation, especially we collaborate with hospital in Indonesia, especially surround ITS, Kampus ITS in Surabaya, which is a hospital of University Airlangga or RSUA, to develop robot assistance for hospital. We developed this robot within 2 weeks, and then we try to implement this robot can be loaded up to 50 kilograms to deliver clothes, medicine, food, etc. To the COVID patients in the hospital. Therefore, this robot can help the medical personnel like nurse or doctor, and also this robot can prevent any transmission COVID between the patient to the nurse or to the doctor. After 2 weeks develop, and then we directly send this robot to be used in 3, which is in Surabaya, 2 hospitals, and in Malang, 1 hospitals. A total robot already delivered to this hospitals now is 7 robots. Yeah? 7 robots. Many innovation that we develop instantly because of the pandemic. We modify our classrooms because there was no students in the room and the classroom, and then we modify the classroom by Dr. Imam Baihaki, the Dean of Creative Business Faculty, to modify the classroom into the workshop to produce the face shield. Up to now, we have already produced and delivered face shield. It's around 170,000 pieces face shield, and we deliver to hospital free of charge. So this is a kind of innovation that we can do within the last 3 months. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that innovation, digital transformation, and business is very, very important nowadays up to some kind of the year after, because Industrial Revolution 4.0 now is insist by COVID to do earlier than before. So everything now is already connected, already online, including our business and our education. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, therefore, we hope that this conference will give benefit to many sides. It also, we can find new finding, new facts, new innovation, hardware or software, or also in management sides. Ladies and gentlemen, digital transformation here in ITS, we try to connect all the organization, all the structure of organization. We have already modified and then restructure in line with the technology of Industrial Revolution 4.0. For example, we have a Faculty of Science and Data Analytics. This is some expert working on big data. And also in Faculty of Creative Business, especially in Management Technology, also working for a big data analysis, because this is a very, very important field for decision management. Respected and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in this event, I would like again extend our gratitude, especially to our distinguished keynote speech from Australia and India. Thank you for accepting our invitation, for attending this conference to give keynote speech in this moment. And then for the committee, for the chair, very thank you for the effort to arrange this conference. We hope that the academic environment in ITS, especially international academic environment in ITS, could be more improved, better, and then our network, the network will give benefits of not only for ITS, but also for all the stakeholders, including partners. So I wish a very nice experience for all participants and special guests this morning. Enjoy the conference, enjoy the virtual meeting here. We hope that all finding, all innovation could be realized to give, to improve our society. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Azari, for the sentences. And now we're going to take a picture together. For all the guests and audiences, to please turn on the camera, and we're going to screen capture for the documentation. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're done. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we are done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will begin the first session of our conference today. And the keynote speaker for this session is Professor Daniel Prajogo from Monash University, Australia, with the topic of extending innovation resources and supply chain network. Also, the session will be moderated by Mr. Imam Baihaqi, PhD, as the Dean of Faculty Creative Design and Digital Business. And for our moderator today, Mr. Imam Baihaqi, PhD, the time is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Professors, honorable guests, Honorable Professor Muhammad Asari as Director of Institut Technologi Sepuluh Nopember, Surabaya, distinguished guests, conference delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first keynote speech sessions of the first International Conference on Management of Technology, Innovation and Project 2020 in conjunction with the 6th International Seminar on Science and Technology 2020, organized by the Departemen Manajemen Teknologi Institut Technologi Sepuluh Nopember, Surabaya. It is my honor to be a moderator for these sessions, and also it is my honor to have a Professor Daniel Prajogo here with us this morning. Professor Prajogo will be delivering speech entitled Extending Innovation Resources to Supply Chain Networks. Before we begin, may I briefly introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Prajogo. Professor Prayogo completed his Ingenieur or Bachelor of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Department of Electrical Engineering, Institut Technologi Sepuluh Nopember, Surabaya in 1991. So Professor Prayogo is one of us. He's one of the alumni of ITS. I often call him as Mas, and also he is also our Cak, Cak ITS or Cak Surabaya. Welcome home, Professor Prayogo, even though virtually. He completed Master of Engineering in Quality Management at Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology or RMIT University, Graduate School of Engineering, Melbourne, Australia in 1996, in which he won Best Graduate Award at the time. He also earned Doctor of Philosophy in Management, Monash University, Faculty of Business Economics, Department of Management, Melbourne, Australia. Professor Prayogo and I share the same supervisor, apparently. Professor Prayogo published more than 79 papers in reputable reference journal articles and also served as a reviewer for reference journal articles, including International Journal of Production Management, IGPOM, International Journal of Production Economics, International Journal of Production Research, Technovation, International Journal of Management Research, Journal of Management, and Decision Science, and many more. He's also serving a reviewer for major conferences in operation and supply chain, and also innovation fields, including Decision Science Institute Conference, Euroma Conference, Academy of Management Conference, Quality, Innovation, and Knowledge Management Conference, and many other conferences, including ANZAM Conference. He also member of professional bodies, including ANZAMS, Decision Science Institutes, Production and Operations Management Society, and Euroma, which is European Operation Management Society. So that is a brief curriculum vitae of Professor Prayogo. Before we begin, let me briefly explain the role of this session. So we have a total 45 minutes for this session. So perhaps Professor Daniel will deliver talk on about 35 minutes for the talks, followed by approximately 10 minutes for Q&A. All the conference delegates, you can ask questions by typing your question in Q&A tab. So there is Q&A icon in the bottom of your Zoom application. You can also ask questions by raise your hands in your Zoom application. So that is the brief rules. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Daniel Prayogo to these keynote sessions. Professor Prayogo, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Imam, and good morning, everyone. And as Pak Imam, and because he has mentioned that he called me Mas, so I also call him Mas as well. Okay. So thank you for the great introduction. And as you said, correctly said, it's good to be home at ITS. I was with ITS from 1986 until 1991 in electrical engineering, and I never forget well, apart from the knowledge itself, what I cannot forget with ITS is the Lontong Balap that is located just under the stairs at the building C at that time at the faculty at the Department of Electrical Engineering. So it's great to be back to ITS again, and it's always been my heart and my commitment to contribute as much as possible that I can for the development of the research in Indonesia, especially in my areas, which is supply chain. And let me check my speaker. Okay, especially especially in my area, supply chain operations and innovation management. So what I will present today is one of my studies that I've been doing with other people on extending innovation resources in supply chain network. So I hope that my topic today will give a sort of integrations between supply chain and innovation and technology management. So if I can help my first slide to be presented from now, I'll be grateful. So I will start my presentation, my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. So the background of my research today that I will present to you is about how companies start to integrate the resources for developing their products beyond their internal resources. So if you know, products are the focal point of, next slide please. The product is the focal point of the manufacturing companies. So customers, they only look at the products, okay? Because in many cases, we as a customer are separated from the production processes. So most of the goods, manufacturing goods or products that we purchase, actually we never see where they were produced, especially in the era of the global supply chain today. Customer or users basically are separated from the producers. So all customers can see from the companies are the products, okay? Now, this is very important because in these today's competitions, products are one of the race that the companies are doing to win the competition. And because of that, most companies, especially in the fashion industry, when I call it fashion, it's not for the clothing, but fashion is any industry that have a relatively short life cycle of the products. They always racing to get the new products from time to time, which is from idea generation to testing the concept, okay, product development until commercialization. Now, initially, the product development is always focused on the internal resources. And that's why companies try to improve their R&D capacity, okay, hiring the best people to produce the products in their laboratory and their R&D center, and also their technologies. But people start to realize that they cannot just rely on the internal resources, because if they want to expand their products and they want to improve the capacity or the level of technologies of the products, they cannot just rely on the internal resources. And to build more and more resources internally, it is too expensive. It is sometimes it takes time because the learning curves, sometimes it's too long. So people start to look at the external resources to improve performance. They start to look around and start to build rather than vertical integrations where they take from the upstream to downstreams and integrate it into one corporation. They start to build what is called virtual integration, which is rather than owning all the companies from upstream to downstream, they start to collaborate with the companies along the supply chain. So that's why you must have heard since I think more than 10 years ago, people start to talk about the competition is no longer between firms, but between supply chains. Now, among many stakeholders or parties in the supply chains that contribute to the product development, the two parties that have a very strong influence on product development are customer and suppliers. Now, today I will focus on the suppliers, because to go to customers, there's to be done more by people who are doing research more on the marketing. So I will focus on how suppliers how companies can leverage the function of the suppliers more than just supplying materials, more than just supplying components, to something more strategic. Okay, and this is very important because suppliers can be considered as extended resources because they have a complementary resources, which is something valuable that the companies do not have. So that is very, very important. Okay, and this is especially applied to suppliers who have specialties. So not just commodities where companies can change from one supplier to another, but the suppliers that have something unique, suppliers that offer unique technologies, capacity, and capabilities. I give you one example. Okay, the next slide. This is a collaboration between Apple and Corning's company. Okay, Corning's company is the suppliers that produce the glass of the iPhone, and this is a very, very intensive collaboration. If you read it, you can find the link if you want to read more stories on this between Apple and Corning's. Okay, so back in 2017, Apple has invested 200 million to Corning's to develop the best glass that we use for our iPhone today. And just September last year, they invested further 250 million. So this is really something interesting because Apple does not see Corning as something that they buy the material from, but actually something that build together the final products. Okay, next slide, please. Now, when we talk about supplier as resources, so we can see that suppliers can be the source of our competitive advantage. If we collaborate our suppliers, we actually can win the competition together rather than fighting alone. So because we can find common resources with our suppliers, and we can making a relationship investment, we can share the knowledge. Okay. However, this takes the level of relationship between buyer and suppliers to the higher level. It's no longer about transactional or operational, where, okay, this is the contract, you make this product for me, and I pay you on this. It's no longer like that, but it is about joint investment. It's a huge amount of investment. And when we invest a huge amount of money, then we always talk about risk. Now, why there is risk? Because whenever there is a relationship and there is a strong investment, there's always a chance that one of the parties could start to do what is called opportunistic behavior. Okay, they start to take advantage of the relationship. And because of that, then the high-level relationship or highly invested relationship must be governed, must be managed so that, you know, both parties will draw equal or mutual benefits. Now, how to govern the strategic collaboration between buyer and suppliers? There are two ways. Number one, you can do what is called legal contracts. You can write the very detail of the contracts of the relationships, what I give, what the other parties give, and how to share the benefits, okay, the patent, the intellectual property, etc., etc. And you will not, you should not be surprised if the number of pages of the legal contracts can go for hundreds and hundreds of pages. And what is the result? It's very time-consuming. It's also very, very costly to make that. So people start to look alternative way to manage the governance of the relationship between buyer and suppliers, and that is social relationship. And this is what I want to share with you. You can read one interesting story about one company in Japan called Fujitsu. And Fujitsu says that whenever they start to purchase from their suppliers, okay, they're not just purchasing, they're not just saying that we want to purchase from you, but we want to build relationship with you. And the relationship could be long-term relationships that the company wants to build. Okay, so this is a very, very important ideas. At least the two things that we start to see here. Number one is that there is an opportunity to tap into suppliers' capability as extended resources, but also how to build the collaboration so that we can maximize the benefits and outcome of that collaboration. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Now, In doing research, especially in the management area, then we have to build on a strong theoretical foundation. Okay, and I give this example not only as a studies, but also give you an idea if you want to bring or want to report your studies in reputable journals. You must lay a strong foundation from the theory. And I use a theory here. Again, remember, because the key points of this study is about building relationships, strategic relationships with supplier, and strategic collaboration, and building relationship with the supplier. So building strategic collaborations, I'll take from the theory what's called extended resource-based view theory. This is a relatively new theory, but the idea of resource-based view itself has been more than 3 decades. Okay, start in early 1990s, even late 80s, when scholars believe that firms perform better than competitors because they have what is called resource, which meet 4 criteria: valuable, not substitutable, okay, and cannot be imitated by the competitors. So VRIN, that is the starting point of resource-based view. However, people start to realize that companies, as I said earlier, people realize that they cannot build their resources always internally, and that's why they need to extend to their other business partner. And that comes a theory what's called extended resource-based view, which believes that companies who can bring strategic collaboration where a deep sharing knowledge and capabilities, they can perform better than companies who only rely on their internal resources. Why? Because that is the key. There is what's called complementary resources. Okay, so the buyers will build a stronger collaboration with suppliers if they believe that the suppliers offer something more than just their supplies, than just their components or materials. They can offer expertise, they can offer technologies, they can offer ideas, and that is what the companies want to build, a deeper relationship rather than just purchasing the materials. So this is the first hypothesis, that when buyer see the potential in the suppliers, they will start to build collaboration in order to improve their product performance. Okay, next slide. Now, the second point is about building the relationship with suppliers. As I said earlier, if you build if you have a strong or huge investment in your collaboration, you should be a little bit nervous, okay, whether this investment will produce expected outcome. And because of that, you don't want your business partners to walk away from the relationship before it's really produced the final outcome, produce the fruits that you want to expect from your investment. Now, because you want that to happen, you want the partners to stay until the outcome of the relationship are realized. So you want to build what's called long-term relationships, okay, deep and long-term relationships. And there are 2 components that we need to have, which is trust and commitment. And this trust and commitment as a combination, they actually produce what is called capital. Now, capital is something that you can exploit to produce the benefits for your business. Okay, normally we talk about human capital. Okay, if you have people who have strong knowledge, strong skills, creativity, then you have what's called human capital. People who have a motivation and passion to work, that's human capital. It's very, very important. But you can also have technological capital. Okay, you have a strong technologist, Pak Rector mentioned about robots to help managing to treat the patients of the COVID-19 in many hospitals, which is very great development in Indonesia. Okay, technological capital. Okay, but now relationship is also capital, because when you have relationships, actually you can do things together with other parties without going through the painful and the costly legal requirements in the formal contract that normally you need to have. Now, one theory that explains that is called social exchange theory. Social exchange theory explains that the parties who are engaged in relationships, they always try to evaluate the benefits that they have each other, and that will adjust the commitment to the relationships. So the higher the benefit they perceive from the relationship, it will produce the stronger trust and commitment, and that will result in dedication for both parties to continue the collaboration or continue the investment until it produces expected results. And therefore, relational capital, trust and commitment actually creates an environment where a strategic collaboration actually can take place. Now, that's why I put the second hypothesis is that the level or the outcome of a strategic collaboration will be enhanced or diminished depending on the level of relational capital that the buyer and suppliers have. Now, to summarize the two key points between the relationship with buyer and supplier to produce new products or to enhance the product performance, then I set up this research model on the next slide. And you can see on the next slide that is the story of this. So I hope you're not too much confused with this diagram. I hope that as people always say that picture speaks 1,000 words. So the idea is that when you have when the buyers start to perceive key supplier strategic values, not just operational value, not just purchasing value, but strategic values. Okay, they will start to build a strategic collaboration. And then from the strategic collaboration from the suppliers, then buyers can improve their product performance. So this is what is called mediating relationships. Okay, that's I have formulated in first hypothesis. At the same time, the path or the relationship between key supplier strategic value and the strategic collaboration will be enhanced by the degree of relational capital of the key suppliers. Similarly, the outcome of the strategic collaboration with key suppliers will also be enhanced by their degree of relational capital with the key suppliers. So relational capital actually moderate both sides of the mediating path. Okay, on the left hand, also on the right hand, on the building of the strategic collaboration, as well as on the outcome of the strategic collaborations between buyer and suppliers. All right. Now, I hope you start to get the idea of the story of this model. Now, I will just go quickly to some of the method aspect of the study. The first one is I start to have to collect the data, and I collect data from manufacturing firms in Australia. It includes, next slide, please. That includes a number of sectors, okay? And I focus on the unit of analysis on the firm. So one firm, one response of the survey. And I specifically targeted respondents from personnel in the companies who have managerial positions, mainly who are familiar with the supply chain as well as the product performance. So I do not go to finance, I don't go to the accountant, okay, accounting manager or finance managers. I'm not going into the human resource managers, okay, mainly on the operations managers, supply chain managers, sometimes purchasing, okay, and product managers. Okay, so I have 204 response data used for this analysis. And for the analysis itself, I have to create 4 variables, okay, because if you see my diagram, there are 4 variables, which is key strategic values, strategic collaborations. So key strategic values, for example, it is the perception of buyers about their key suppliers, how actually the key suppliers offer something distinguished, okay, have something valuable to complement their resources to build new products. Strategic collaborations talk about joint technologies, joint ventures in technology, as well as joint product development. The relational capital, as I mentioned earlier, is the degree of commitment and trust that the buyer perceives from their suppliers. And finally, product performance is about the quality and the range of the products they can produce, as well as the speed of the product development. Okay, so as a standard method in empirical studies, I test the validity and reliability of the 4 constructs and create the composite score to 4 constructs. Then I use what is called process macro. Now, this is if you haven't done this, you can download. If you have a SPSS software already, you can just download this from the website. You can attach it to your ITSS. It's available for free, and it's very, very useful, especially if you have what is called moderated mediated model, like what I have in this study. So as you can see, I have 2 hypotheses. The first hypothesis is on the mediating relationship between suppliers' value, strategic collaboration, and product performance. And that's why I use a model 4 of the process macro. Process macro itself has more than 70 models that you can choose whatever suits best to your research model. And then when I have the moderating effect of the relational capital, then I will use model 58. Now, this is the result. On the next slide. Okay, so when I have the mediated model, then it's very clear that strategic collaboration becomes or function is a significant mediators on the relationship between suppliers' value and product performance. Meaning that when you want to get benefited, when the buyers want to get the benefits from the supplier's value to improve their product performance, then they have to build the strategic collaboration in the first place. They cannot straight away get the benefit from their supply. And that's why strategic collaboration is a very, very important intervening mechanism so that we can tap or we can mine, okay? We can do the mining of the supplier strategic value. Okay, we see suppliers not just as suppliers, but as a strategic partners, and that's why we want to build the collaboration. As you can see, both paths, okay, from supplier value to collaboration and from collaboration to product performance are significant at P below 1%, so it's highly significant. Now, that is the for hypothesis 1. So hypothesis 1 is supported. It means that you cannot get the benefit from your supplier's value straight away before you build the strategic collaboration in the first place. Now, how if this relationship influenced by the relational capital? The next slide will tell you something even more interesting. Now, if you can see here that relational capital with key suppliers actually influence both the relationship between supplier value and strategic collaboration, which means that the higher the relational value with key suppliers, the stronger the relationship between key suppliers' value and strategic collaboration. Similarly, the higher the relational capital, with key suppliers will also enhance the effect or the success of your collaboration will result in higher product performance. Now, how is that influence actually takes place? It is a very, very significant. Now, if you can see the red figures, okay, word and figures, numbers in the middle, that tells you actually how relational capital actually plays an important or significant roles. Now, when you see low, mean, and high, that is where the relational capital at the mean level or the average level. At the low level, it means at one standard deviation below the mean, and high is one standard deviation above the mean. Now, if you can see, at the mean level, okay, the indirect effect or the mediating effect of the strategic collaboration at 0.09 with the confidence interval between 0.03 until 0.19. That is at the mean level. But when the relational capital actually drops one standard deviation, okay, only one standard deviation, okay, actually the result becomes insignificant. So actually the strategic collaboration does not produce any results in breaching the key strategic value and higher product performance. But when the relational capital is high, then you can see that actually the effect, the mediating effect of strategic collaboration, okay, can go as high as 0.38 in the 95% of confidence interval. So between low, mean, and high, you can see a very, very significant difference of the effect of strategic collaboration. So once again, this proves that strategic collaboration with key suppliers is an effective mechanism to get the benefits from your suppliers over and above the good supplies, good materials, or good components. Okay, but you can use your suppliers or you can get the benefit of suppliers as your extended resources. Okay, I just want to conclude very quickly with the next two slides, what we can learn. Okay, number one, from theoretical perspective, this study actually gives a picture of integration between the two theories, which is extended resource-based view and social exchange theory. Extended resource-based view explains that you can tap into other parties' resources by building strategic collaboration. So you don't need to own everything yourself. You can own resources not by purchasing or acquisition, but by building a strategic collaboration with other parties. Okay, so that's what extended resource-based view. But at the same time, you cannot have that relationships to be fruitful unless you also have good relational capital, which is explained by social exchange theory. You must maintain the relationship as mutually benefited for both parties. You cannot exploit the other party. You must maintain the party in a fair, and in fact, you must make sure that everything is jointly benefited and jointly enjoyed. That's what social exchange theory. So by combining extended RBV and SET, then that is very, very good. Two theories that I explain how we can expand our resources beyond our internal resources. For practical implication, the last slide, then this is very important for managers now. If they want to expand their product range, again, you don't need to purchase your own machine. Okay, you don't need to hijack people, from others. Okay, you can collaborate with others for mutual benefits, and then if you know how to build a strong, long-term, and fair and mutually benefited relationships, that is how we can expand our resources to improve our products to expand our business without have to go back to the very, very conventional and old ways of pure vertical integration. Well, I hope this give nuance understanding the combination of supply chain and technology and innovation management, which hopefully will stimulate interdisciplinary research in the coming days for those of you. And thank you. I'm happy to follow with a short discussion after this.
Thank you, Prof. Daniels. It is very good and interesting research in looking at the collaboration between supplier and buyers, and by using very interesting theoretical lens, which is extended resource-based view and social exchange theory. I would not like to add another conclusion, because conclusion is already said by Dr. Daniels. Now it's time to take in questions from the audience. Okay. There are several questions that's been posted in the Q&A, and because we still have quite enough time, I would like to invite the people who post questions to raise the questions using microphone. The co-host, could you please help me opening up the microphone for this attendees? So the first question is coming from Mr. Alvan Ardi. Mr. Alvan Ardi, can you post your question directly? Mr. Alvan Ardi, can you use your microphone? Okay, let me read the questions. So the question from Mr. Alvan Ardi. Is there any case from strategic collaboration between key suppliers and buyer that lead to acquisition process from buyer to the supplier company? What do you think about this chance? What may lead the buyer to do acquisition beside the ambition visions of buyer company to expand their business? So, Prof. Daniel, could you please respond to that question?
Yes, thank you. There is always a possibility of an acquisition from the buyers, and that is completely another issue that's more on the what's called strategic management, from building business portfolio, or as well as to have more control on your business. As I mentioned earlier, vertical integration is something that many companies are still trying to do, because they believe that if they have a vertical integration, they own from the upstream to the downstream. Actually, they can have full control. I understand that. But at the same time, when you start to have a vertical integration, the longer the vertical integration that you have, from the very raw material and the very end product, you own everything there, then you will end up with what's called very, very unrelated diversification. So you have to manage very, very unrelated diversification. Just imagine a very, very simple example. Okay, if you open a restaurant, okay, that is the restaurant is on the downstream where you produce the end product. Okay, then you have to own your own farm. Okay, rice farm, vegetable farms, cattle farms, which is very, very different business. So that's why what I suggest here is rather than making an acquisition, okay, then you let which always costly, of course, okay, then you keep your extended resources rather than vertical. It's more on the virtual integration. And when you build the relationship with the supplier so closely and long term, then basically you take the supplier as part of your family. So, you know, you share the joy and the tears together, but of course it's still a separate entity, okay, but you always think for mutual benefit. So whenever decision that you make, you always take into consideration what your supplier is. Okay, again, it is the company's decision if later on they want to do an acquisition. Okay, but if the supplier is actually doing very well, okay, then I would suggest that let them flourish, and you know, we just want to get the benefits from that development, and together we can collaborate for new products, especially, okay, and bring their expertise as early as possible. So, and not just giving them the final specification and ask them to make the products according or component according to our specification, but even involve them in developing the specification. So that's my view on that question about acquisition.
Thank you, Prof. Daniel, for giving a very interesting view on the questions. Okay, now I'd like to pick up several other questions here. Still have a problem here to open up the microphone for the attendees. If anyone from the community can please help me, that would be good, because it's a good idea if the person who asked question can have discussion with Professor Daniel directly. But unfortunately, I cannot find where is the button to pick up here now. So the second questions, okay. I'd like to pick up the question from Mr. Lutfi Julian Fikri. The question, I read it here. The purpose to have more than one key supplier is to secure the supply requirement, especially like with the current uncertainty that some suppliers are affected by COVID-19 and not able to provide the goods or services. How this strategic collaboration can be implemented like in the current pandemic condition if we only have one key suppliers? So this is, I think, related to the managing risk in the supply chain. Prof. Daniel, could you please respond to the question?
Thank you very much. In fact, just last week, I also had just delivered another seminar about how COVID-19 pandemic actually hit hard on the global lean supply chain. Okay, because number one, globally there are many supply chain is disrupted because the countries close the border and etc. Okay, in fact, many companies actually have to stop the production. So, and number two is about lean itself, because lean is very, very strongly focusing or suggesting, recommending that you focus on the few suppliers rather than on the different. But we need to understand that what we are talking here is what's called key suppliers, not just any suppliers. You will have many other suppliers. Okay, just if you remember the case of Cornings and Apple that I mentioned to you. Okay, Cornings is one of the key suppliers of Apple, but Corning is only one among 9,000 suppliers that Apple has globally. So what we talk here is strategic collaborations for something, a specific purpose, specific project, and specific visions. And of course, apart from that, then you have other suppliers that supply you with the commodities. Okay, And this is very important now that people start to consider whether they should keep pushing on global supply chain or they start to balance between global and regional supply network. Because when you start to focus too much on the global, something like a global pandemic happen like this, then you will be hurt. And that is why balancing between global and regional. And I think for Indonesia, for example, okay, if we can start to build the regional development to have the supply networks that can supply regionally, I think that will help to keep our supply-based network more robust against something like global pandemic, what we're experiencing today. And well, it's only a dream, okay, but I hope that we can have something like a Silicon Valley in San Francisco in America, or even in Bangalore, Indonesia, where we have a regional supply network, okay, that we can collaborate and develop, the new technologies, new products, okay, new capabilities, new knowledge together regionally, which will be more robust in facing unexpected disruption like today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the response. Now I see there is one people who raised questions, who raised their hands. Mr. Bayu Aryawan. Okay, now I would like to ask Mr. Bayu Aryawan to talk directly. Yes. Please.
Okay, Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. My name is Ahmad Bayu Aryawan from Faculty of Animal Husbandry, Halu Oleh, University Kendari, Southeast Sulawesi, Indonesia. I will ask to Sir Daniel. Now, Meet Vocation School has many great creations, which is bringing real patent to school denizen, but the storage is not being longer or have remained obstacles. How to generate our patent research for next generation? Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay, I think the question is related to the how to make the commercialization of the research, probably in relation to the supplier. It's about how to...
Pak Imam, there was a breaking when the question was so can you help repeat it for me?
Okay. So the question is
the core content of the question.
The core content of the question is the university produced many research. Okay.
Yep.
The question is how to deliver this research into commercial value by taking into account the concept of the collaboration between suppliers and buyers that you just explained. Okay. Or in general, do we need, as a university, do we need to have a strong collaboration, and in what way we do have a collaboration?
Yes, I suggest these are good questions, and I suggest the person from Kendari, is it okay? It's great to have someone from Kendari, and it's great to learn that your university actually produce a lot of research output with the potential of having a patent. Now, this is very, very interesting because, whilst my studies is focusing on the upstream, okay, your question is more on the downstream. Okay, what happened after the product is developed? Okay, because product development is only one stage, okay, of the whole new product process, which now have to be continued by what is called commercialization. Now, there are two things. Number one is that there are many companies there are many suppliers that have good ideas. Finally, they collaborate with larger companies because the larger company actually have a more experience and knowledge about commercialization. And number two, larger company already have what's called established markets. So when you collaborate with large company or companies experience, actually you can start to have the channel of marketing and distribution even for your products. That is the easiest way. But number two is I would suggest the person who asks this question to learn, and again, you know, you can find it internet easily. The concept of triple helix, which is the collaboration of three parties between industry, university, and government, which is very much related to innovation. You can get a good idea there, okay, how these three parties actually build relationships and collaborations to produce a successful innovation. Okay, triple helix. You can read up on it. It will be useful.
Okay, thank you very much. So triple helix is one of the type of the collaboration between university researchers, business, and governments. I think some of the theory can be applied to develop a mutual relationship between the university and also company. Okay, there is another questions here from Bahtiar Rosi Ahda, who raised the hands. Okay, the host, could you please help me? Oh, where is he now? It's not showing up. Let me check. Yeah, Bahtiar, Mr. Bahtiar, could you please talk now? You can talk now. Yes, you can use your microphone to ask directly. Your microphone is still mute. Could you please press unmute your microphone? You already given permission to talk.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Imam.
Yes.
My name is Bahtiar. I want to ask about the connecting with this supplier. If we to be a manager, the strategy is to maintain the supplier to good relationship. But I think in our thinking, there is the different thing that it can be any gap with the supplier, any gap with the supplier. Yeah, the relationship is not good enough. Yeah. But this is maybe the oldest thinking about the hours manager. Maybe it needs communication, good communication with manager skills and knowledge to improve the relationship with supplier. And my question is how to be a good communication with supplier, so the relationship is good, and how the knowledge it can be achieved to good relationship with supplier. Okay, thank you, Mr. Imam.
Thank you very much. So basically asking the strategy, how to develop a strategic collaboration between supplier and buyers.
Thank you, Pak Imam, and thank you for the question. The first thing is we need to ask ourselves, okay, how we perceive our suppliers. Okay, if we perceive our supplier as merely supplier, then our mindset would be, I have to purchase the component or material from the suppliers at the cheapest possible price. Cheapest possible price. I have to press them to reduce their price all the time. Okay, so I can get the materials at the cheapest price, and then I will sell to my customers at the highest possible price. It's very simple logic. Then I will get the maximal profit. Okay, so that is what's created in the literature. That's what's called adversarial relationship between buyer and supplier. Because buyer always the word says keep the suppliers on their toes. Okay, so this is something that many companies still doing it, especially against the commodity suppliers. Okay, if you cannot reduce your price, I will move to another supplier. Okay, but you cannot do that with your key supplier, because in the key supplier you don't see them as a supplier, but you see them as your strategic partners, which means that their well-being is our well-being and vice versa. And with that, then we can start to develop communication. That's you can read up in a very, very good example from Fujitsu company, how they actually build their supply network. And what they do with their supplier, just like the example that Apple did to Corning. Okay, so they do not see Corning as glass suppliers, but as the part of the team of their product development. And therefore, it is very important when we start to look at our suppliers in that way, the way we treat them and the way we communicate with them, okay, is will be different. So this is a different level of thinking, whether we talk to supplier at the operational level, okay, or tactical level, okay, we just talk about price, delivery, okay, and perhaps a product range, or we talk about with suppliers in something higher. Hey, let's work together, okay, let's build something together, okay, let's put money together. It's a very, very different level of conversation, and people must be able to differentiate between the two. So I guess the first thing we do is the way we perceive our suppliers must change. The way we consider them, okay, must change. This supplier must not be perceived as something from which we can get the benefit individually by exploiting them, but actually supplier is something that can benefit us if we can help them to develop and even to progress in their capacity. So Japanese company, they always put a very, very strict requirements for their suppliers. They monitor the suppliers continuously and carefully, strictly, but also they do a lot of supplier development. So, you know, they're not just taking profit on the suppliers, but they always think of joint profit, joint benefit, and that is what makes a difference.
Thank you, Prof. Daniels. I'm sorry to all attendees who raised hands to ask questions. I cannot accommodate everyone. But for the closing questions, I found here several questions who have similar themes. So I would like to resume here several questions. One from Professor Buana Ma'ruf and also from Mr. Mariono, who have similar questions. The question is, does strong collaboration between supplier and buyer apply to every industry or every sector, including EPC construction sectors? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Imam, and thank you, Professor, asked this question. It's about the behavioral aspect. Okay, this is about behavioral aspect. And once again, first of all, we need to differentiate between just common supplier or even commodity suppliers, where we can change from one supplier to another easily because, you know, many suppliers offer the same components, same products. Okay, that is fine. Then we can create a little bit of price competition among suppliers because they're commodities. But we are talking here about specialty suppliers and suppliers who who is difficult to be replaced because they have something distinguished. And I believe this is about the behavioral aspect. And if whether it's a different industry, when we find that kind of supplier, then we have to treat them differently because they're distinguished suppliers. They're not just suppliers; they are our strategic partners. That's my opinion. We can apply this. Collaboration is applied everywhere. Okay, in business, but also in our personal life. It's always good to collaborate. Okay, but again, what is the purpose of the purpose of collaboration? It's always a joint benefits, mutual benefits. It's not just asymmetric. It has to be symmetrical benefits, number one. And number two, any collaborations must be built in the environment of what I call this relational capital, which is trust and commitment. And to have trust and commitment, you cannot build it overnight. You have to build it over a long time, even though you can destroy it overnight. Just one betrayal, that is destroy everything. So that's why a relational capital actually is more difficult to build, but actually it's very, very valuable. And again, I believe it applies across industries. Thank you for the question. Pak Imam, you are muted.
Yes, I am muted. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So thank you for the response, Prof. Daniels. Okay. Now we come to the end of the sessions. Okay. Something pop up in my screens. Okay. So we are coming to the end of the sessions. I would like to apologize for those people who cannot we handle one by one, and also for those who raise a question. Unfortunately, I cannot handle one by one due to the time limit. So I would like to thank you to Professor Daniel Prayogo, who sharing his research and expertise with us here today, and also coming, even though virtually coming home to ITS. On behalf of ITS and on behalf of the conference committee, and also to all attendees, I would like to say thank you, sincere thanks. And also the committee will present the virtual certificate of appreciations that is displayed here in the screens to Professor Daniel Prayogo.
Thank you very much, Pak Imam. And thank you, Pak Nyoman, Pak Rektor, and also the committee of MOTIP for giving me the privilege to be involved in this conference. I hope that we can continue our cooperation. And as Mas Imam said, and I want to share this with you once again, ITS is always in my heart.
Thank you, Pak Daniel.
Prof. Nyoman, you have a few words?
Terima kasih, Pak Daniel.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much, Pak Imam, Pak Rektor, and Pak Daniel. That's been very nice talk, I think.
Yes. Thank you, Prof. Daniels, for just a few other information. Prof. Daniels, every year always come to ITS, giving some talks to my department in business management and also to other departments. His commitment to ITS is very strong. Thank you, Prof. Daniel, for your support, and I hope we can continue our collaboration. So everyone, professors, distinguished guests, and all the attendees of the conference this morning, I would like to conclude this sessions. If any mistake that I make today, please apologize for me. Okay, thank you very much, and I pass this session to the host. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you for our moderator in the session, Mr. Imam Baihaki, PhD, and also thank you very much for Professor Daniel Prayogo from Monash University, Australia, with the excellent topic of extending innovation resources and also supply chain network. And now we would like to inform for all the participants, you may join the first parallel session on the room for each paper based on the instruction given. And we will be back for the second session at 11:30 p.m. That's all. Thank you for your attention and see you later.